So good afternoon, everybody, or good morning and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Mario, and I'm here to facilitate today's webinar on re-engineering engineering education, the magical MPG program. This is a IEEE Young Professionals webinar, which will be brought to you by Mr. Jason Long. So the IEEE Young Professionals Committee will be hosting several webinars in 2014, almost monthly, and one interesting thing that's coming up is the Personal Finance series, which will be facilitated by two young ladies about how to manage your finances. And we'll also see more Leadership Excellence webinars from Corey. And we've got several technical topics lined up as well for you. So definitely exciting year for IEEE Young Professionals webinars. Now, as an audience member, we ask that you type your questions into the question box below. And you can actually vote for questions, and all the questions will be answered by Jason at the end of his talk in a 5-minute session. So please type your questions, and I will facilitate the Q&A at the very end of the discussion. As you know, the IEEE Young Professionals has recently rebranded from what was formerly known as IEEE Gold, or Graduates of the Last Decade. And as you know, Gold wasn't really recognized as it wasn't instantly recognized as a Young Professionals group. And really, this new name makes it much easier to find information and benefits that are relevant to young professionals in the IEEE. And we've seen lots of different networking events over the past couple of years that have really led to this new branding. And you can check out all the latest events happening at IEEEGoldRush.org. So I do want to encourage you to connect with us online. There are two brand new tools for young professionals. One of them is the Mentor Center, which is sort of like an online dating tool for your career. It will allow you to connect with a mentor online based on your interests. So definitely check that out at mentoring.ieee.org. And we also have the IEEE Resume Lab, which is an online tool suite which will help you craft your cover letter, as well as build your resume. So it's a fantastic tool available to IEEE members. Please do email us if you have any questions or suggestions for our webinars, and check out our website at IEEE.org/YP. Also our Facebook group on our Facebook page on facebook.com/IEEEYP, or follow us on Twitter and as well as on LinkedIn. So today's webinar will be brought to you by Jason Long, who actually started off the MPG program as a side project with his IEEE student branch, and over the past 15 years it has really grown into something much larger. So Jason has a strong vision about re-engineering engineering education, and so today he's going to talk to you a little bit about that. So without further ado, I would like to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Jason Long, and Jason, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mario. Hi everybody, thank you for taking the time of your day to come and join us for this webinar. I hope it's interesting and exciting and gets you pretty pumped up about this MPG program. My name is Jason, as Mario said, and I'm a professional engineer. I work in Victoria, BC, Canada, and this presentation will give you a brief look about who I am and try and describe what this MPG program is, and then how it links into MPG and young professionals. So I hope that you can get a lot of value from this to see where we're going. The goals, if I can achieve these by the end of this presentation, I hope that you understand what MPG is, and I really hope that you're pumped up about getting involved potentially with the program. So someone hold me accountable for those two goals at the end. So very briefly about me, and I don't want to go into a lot of detail. I did my internship way back in 2000 at Nortel, if you remember that little company. I did graduate in 2002 from the University of Calgary, Schulich Engineering School. I worked for a small company called BW Technologies, doing embedded development for 4 years, went on to lead a team at General Dynamics for a couple of years, and went back to doing design work at a small startup company called Blackline GPS, all in Calgary. So that's a quick decade span of the start of my career, which is it's been a fantastic career. All of the while that this was going on, I've been running the MPG program. And in 2010, the MPG program sort of prompted me to, with everything else that was going on, I wanted to start my own company, just with the basis from the skills I've developed technically and through MPG. Of course, you don't know anything about MPG yet, but we'll get into that and make sure that this all makes sense to you. What I did notice over my career is that I get bored. It usually takes 2 to 4 years, and I want to move on. But with MPG, I've never gotten bored of it. So it's kind of different. It's a different thing. And this little picture here is something just funny that came out of MPG. We did a nerd calendar, and those are a couple of students from MPG. Cool stuff like that happens, and we'll talk more about that. So really, what in the world is MPG? It stands for, sort of comes from microprocessing. Doesn't really matter what the name is. But it's all supposed to be about learning real-life embedded systems, both hardware and firmware. So I started it when I was in internship in 2000. So I was part of the IEEE student branch in Calgary, and we were just looking for ways to add value to our members. For my personal motivation, I was desperate for hands-on, and I know that's still true in schools today. With engineering programs, they're very, very academic and theory-loaded, and a lot of students that know what they want to do. They want to play with parts, they want to look at microcontrollers, they want to get their hands dirty. There's still not that much opportunity to do that. So we want to make sure that was certainly true back then, certainly true now, and that was a big motivator. Especially after Y2K, I'd learned a lot about embedded systems and really wanted to, I knew at that time that I had sort of discovered what I wanted to do as an engineer. The other thing that's really, really important for me is that I was a horrible speaker. I could not speak in public. I could not speak in job interviews. Think of the worst presentation or presenter you've ever witnessed. That was me. And so I had to solve that. I knew for my career and for everything where I was going and what I wanted to do, I had to get over that. And so that was a big part of MPG. So I figured that I'm going to start this little program. I started with breadboards, PIC microcontrollers, and no experience. Google didn't exist in 2000, I don't think. We were still using some hard data books and things like that for data sheets. The World Wide Web was starting to come online, so we were able to get a few more resources. But there's certainly a huge learning curve there. The program, I never wanted to have cost, and the most important thing is that students would get real hardware, so we'd solve that problem of I don't get to take stuff home, or something exists in a black box. We wanted to build little kits, little programmers, and make sure people could take that home with them. Certainly at the beginning, when I was still a student and learning this stuff, this is not about teaching, so I didn't go and hold a class or anything. It was really just a group that came together. I was terrified every time that I did these lectures, but it was awesome. And what kept me going was the accountability to the group. So I'd have 20, 30 people showing up. I knew they were betting on me for the next step in kind of leading them through this knowledge, and that really, really drove me to continue this side project, because we know side projects are not always easy to keep going. The gym is an excellent example, and things like learning a microcontroller is very, very similar to that. So what it allowed me to do is establish a routine, and I actually found the fun. I was actually getting better at speaking, and people were responding. I could see the excitement every week, and it was awesome. We really started to see the results of what was going on. Now, this slide here is just some pointers if you want to review this, but I'm going to switch to the next 2 slides as I go through these and talk about what MPG is today. So now, what MPG has grown into, and we don't quite have time to go through all of the history of how we got here, but we have 2 levels of the program. So level 1 uses the custom dev board on the left here that you see on your screen. And the focus of that is doing low-level driver development. So we literally start blank processor and lead students through figuring out how to get that thing up and running, get your initial LED blinking, and then in the time that we have, go through and start writing different drivers. So how do we do little LED drivers or button drivers or UART drivers and things like that. With the popularity of the program and a lot of more industry interest and support, we were able to create MPG level 2, which then extends level 1. This is the dev board that we see on the right-hand side here. And that focus is on application development. So we take all of essentially the API that comes out of level 1, and we use that to build a higher level application. We actually build wireless Pong that plays over the ANT radio. So both boards have ANT radios. The board for level 2 is a dot matrix LCD. so we can actually interface to two boards and play Pong wirelessly, so it's pretty cool. Both MPG level 1 and level 2 have a soldering component to the program, so that's teaching those practical skills is also very, very important. So we want people to understand what components are and how to do surface mount soldering, real surface mount soldering with 0603 components, and nothing huge. We want to make it very relevant to industry. So that's optional. The other boards at the bottom that you see are additional soldering resources. So sometimes it is difficult to do. Experts at different universities will do fully populated boards for the MPG program, but then we can also do supplementary soldering programs as well, just so students still have that opportunity. The soldering competition is really, really fun. This little tiny board in the middle at the bottom is just new this year. We put together a whole self-directed Altium tutorial so students can go through that. So we're always trying to grow the program. Lots of handshakes in this picture. That's what MPG is all about. This is a couple shots over a few years. Our University of Calgary volunteer team is up on the right. I'm in a few of those pictures, and all our different volunteers interacting with students. MPG is, though there's a lot of technical part of the program, it extends so much more. And with just what we offer and what we structure, the soldering competition, so you can see, we give away soldering irons and things like that. People love competing in the soldering competition. Really gets people excited about what's going on. We try and do a wrap-up party and an industry open house. So especially in Calgary, we have probably 15 different companies that are really tuned into what's happening at MPG, and they'll come out at the end of the year to celebrate with students. We have enough support in Calgary that we can do a bursary program. MPG doesn't cost anything. Students do buy their own hardware kits. And we get lots of industry sponsorship, so that's how we're able to fund anything that we can. Totally a not-for-profit program. So we've given away, I think, 3 or 4 $500 bursaries to students just in the program, which is obviously a big hit. And these are for students that have actually achieved certain milestones within the program. So there's some structure there and a method to the madness. But the big thing is that we're doing all these great things, both technically, but also really, really focusing on the network side of things. Now, quick slide, just in case you want to check this out further. Everything's free with MPG. Everything is open source, so all of our hardware, firmware, notes, and open source are open source and online. So Nginx.com, which is my company that I run MPG under, so /MPG, and then of course our Facebook. So that's just a reference slide for you there. A lot of people are familiar with Arduino, and one question might be, well, why don't you just use Arduino, or why don't we just go and access the Arduino resources? I've worked with Arduino, and I see what it is. The difference of MPG is that we really try to explain everything. We're using industry-grade dev tools. We're not kind of hiding things. We use real C programming and assembly programming. We kind of target it for engineers, not hobbyists. If that was a distinction I could make between Arduino and what we're doing with MPG, that would be, hobbyists versus engineers. So we're giving a genuine start. If you want to build products as an embedded design engineer, Arduino might lead you to a dead end. It'll get you there quickly, but then what do? How do I actually build the hardware? How do I really code an efficient embedded system that's going to fit into a cost-optimized form factor device? The biggest difference, though, is that MPG involves people, and that really becomes the most important thing. So really, what is MPG? So if I quote myself, I'm going to say this, I'm going to make the statement that long-term success in engineering has almost nothing to do with the technical work you do every day. Sure, we do need, as engineers, we do need to do a good job technically with what we do, and that is eventually going to create the great products that we build and drive the bottom lines of our company. But our success and what happens and the opportunities that we get to experience, that's all about people. And my career is relatively young. I've been out since 2002, but I really see this, and it has really become very obvious, especially now that I'm running my own company as well, that I wouldn't get anywhere. I would literally get nowhere without great relationships. And building those relationships and the equity of those relationships is what it's all about. So here's a bunch of people. These are just 3 years at the University of Calgary, 2010 through 2012. So we put this together, this slide, a few years ago. But this really captures sort of the essence of the people side of MPG. This is one school that can walk into a class of second-year students that have never heard of me, they've never heard of MPG. Most of them probably haven't even heard about a microcontroller. If it's a class of 100 people, I can take 2 minutes and say, hey, we're doing this embedded systems program, we're doing real stuff, come check out an info session, and I'll get 50 of those people there. So the demand is huge in schools, and that's true across any school, at least in Canada, that I've experienced, and certainly through conversation I've heard very similar demand all through, like, literally the world. That people are really interested in doing this hands-on, and especially from an industry perspective, where we're not just theory, we're doing real stuff. So we start to get into some magic, and I wish I could do a card trick for you. I don't do card tricks, I do MPG. So MPG is magical because people love it. People truly love it, not just the students, but when I talk about MPG, when I present the concept of MPG, people are like, wow, this is amazing. And it's people that are making it happen. So right away, it taps in and shows the powerful, like we start developing this powerful network of relationships, and we start building that very valuable equity. For ourselves personally, it's a great opportunity for continuous learning. It's very strange that we spend from 5 years old till 2025, almost 20 years, we're educating ourselves. And as soon as we graduate from university, we almost stop that. And I know a lot of people do pursue continuous learning, but it's hard. It's hard to find the time. It's hard to just like going to the gym. It's hard to always go to the gym. It's hard to always learn. What has really come out in the last few years is how MPG matters to industry. So now we're seeing some big name sponsors that are supporting. They're sort of tuned into this program, and they say, yeah, we get this, and we will support you. And these are people that didn't come to us to advertise their products. We were using their products, and we shared the program with them, and got them to step up. So definitely, like, true, genuine relationships of value there. The opportunities that come out of MPG and the potential of what we can do, what I see, are just endless. And we'll talk a bit more about those. For myself, MPG has literally been the key to almost every door that has opened to me during my career. And that's not without a lot of effort. I stopped counting how many hours I put into MPG. It's probably, I think it's around about 8,000 by now, but that's over 15 years. But I've loved every moment of it, and it's the accountability that the program creates to students and to even to yourselves and to companies that makes sure it kicks me in the ass to keep going. It maintains that effort. And then what I've seen over all of these years, and even though it was a bit slow at the beginning, I kind of really didn't clue into what I actually had built here until probably 2010, is that effort really breeds opportunity. And it's opportunities not only for students, but certainly for ourselves. And we need that. We need to have this win-win. We need to get the value from that effort that we're putting in, because our time is certainly precious. And what's really cool is that it shows that MPG gives you a lot of power, and it shows that individuals have power. So if you look at your sphere of influence, and sometimes it's pretty discouraging to look out at the world and say, I'm never going to change the world, but you actually have a pretty wide-reaching sphere of influence. And even if it's maybe 100 people, that's still big. If everyone was influencing 100 people in a positive way, then we'd have a pretty successful society here. So we're trying to enable people and make sure that all of our relationships that come from MPG are really win-win. Now, there are some concerns in industry, and you can agree with these or not. It's up to you. The first one's in quotes, because I see this all the time. So the impression from industry, and there's lots of articles about this, is that engineering, electrical and computer engineering grads, ECE grads, lack hands-on skills. And I know that I would have lacked hands-on skills if I hadn't had MPG out of school. I still see that in the people that I work with and the students that I work with, and I hear that it's very loud from industry that this is going on. It's from a company perspective. Recruiting is a funny thing. We still rely on resumes and job postings and this long application process, and in the end we take a big guess at who we're going to hire. And these are very, very expensive guesses. Some people interview very well that may or may not be great people. Technically great people may not integrate well with a company. So there's so many factors involved in recruiting. The other thing that is at least true in my life, and I know, again, from speaking with a lot of people, this is true, is that we get bored. If we're not doing new things, if we're not reaching out, if we're not being involved, then we can certainly get bored in our jobs and in our lives, and that's no good. Another big concern in the industry is how do we grow soft skills, so communication and leadership. There's huge concern from professional associations about mentorship and the aging, all the senior engineers that will be retiring, and that lack of experience base that is out there. Mentorship is so important. It's one of the main drivers for what a lot of the activities that IEEE Young Professionals do. And then also out of that comes innovation. So innovation is not something that you can just say, go innovate. Innovation comes from being free, being comfortable, being excited about what you're doing, and that's when ideas grow. You can't just force that. So we're really trying to foster all of these soft skills. Everyone's broke. Individuals are broke. Governments are broke. Universities are broke. It's very hard to get money, and if people, or if any initiative requires money or resources from departments that are already stressed, it doesn't work. So the really important part about MPG is that we can do this without money, which is really, really cool. Okay? And then the last thing is the finger pointing, and this maybe happens on a slightly larger scale, but if things are wrong in the world, if academic engineering programs aren't producing engineering grads with hands-on skills, well, we point the finger at the schools and say, well, you need to fix that. Well, it's not their problem to fix. What mass education does, I think they do it very well. I think engineering programs are excellent, and I don't want to interfere with that. But what I see happening, and I have seen this for 15 years, is that industry can become involved, and not just big industry. This is not about getting, setting up $5 million labs or big grants or anything like that. It's people that can come in and contribute their time and their knowledge and their experience. They can do that for free, and they can start helping fixing those problems. So as far as IEEE goes, this is where we're sort of bringing this into young professionals here. I spent 4 years volunteering for our IEEE student branch in Calgary, and there was a lot of time invested. And what I thought was very strange is that after graduating, is totally cut off that relationship, and there wasn't really, I was really good at what I did with the student branch, and then I wasn't sure what to do as a young professional. So I certainly drifted away, and I indeed let my IEEE membership lapse after a few years, and it wasn't until much later that I got back into IEEE. The recurring problem, and perhaps IEEE would debate this excuse me, as well, is that student branches are still very cyclical. I've attended, I think, 6 or 7 student congresses where the Region 7 schools, which is all Canada, they send delegates to meet together and talk about student branches and how those run. So every year, certain branches have disappeared, certain branches are just restarting. Some branches are pretty good at going year over year, but even in Calgary, we see this all the time, where we don't really have a direct way to help them and guide them. And if you have a great executive that doesn't properly hand off, then they lose all of the momentum. And Calgary doesn't even have a McNaughton Center anymore because there was a lapse. Certain years the people didn't continue to that momentum. So what I also see is young professionals being able to show more value of IEEE to their companies. Sometimes it's hard to say, I'd like some support with my IEEE membership, or I want to go to these conferences or things like that. There's a bit of a disconnect because we're not on a day-to-day basis engaged with IEEE and how it provides that value back to companies. So these are the things that I think that IEEE has, that could be concerned about or could address or could do better. Excuse me. And we're going to tie that into MPG. So what I see, this is a bit of a vision statement, is that we can probably come up with a coordinated effort between MPG and IEEE Young Professionals that makes a lot of sense to IEEE, to students, to academic institutions, and to industries. Hope this is all coming together. Now, two wordy slides here. If you're still with now, hopefully that you're engaged. If you're sleeping, I'll try not to talk too loud over this part. So what I want to look at is how I see MPG and IEEE Young Professionals getting engaged, both from individuals and from a company perspective. So for individuals, if you want to just look at the technical side, MPG is a great way to learn firmware and hardware. So it doesn't matter if you're already doing that in industry, so that if you are doing that sort of stuff, then we're complementing what you're already doing. Or if you don't do any of this whatsoever, maybe have some interest, we have potential to add a whole new dimension to your skill set. We can certainly train you how to do firmware and hardware. And of course, at least in Canada, I believe all of our provincial associations require us to do professional development hours. So we're required as professional engineers to learn and to participate in the community. I've never had an issue. I can easily claim the maximum PDHs every year that I do my APEGA or APEG-BC now submissions. So that's a nice little reliever of stress. I don't have to worry about that, and I know that I'm gaining great professional development there. Staying in touch with the university that you graduated from, and adding value to the local student branch, to help them master the year-to-year success. We can do that, and it's great to stay in touch. I love staying in touch with my professors. I love staying in tune with the university students. I think it keeps me young to a certain degree, so I can still be a young professional, not just a professional. And you really feel good. And MPG is that catalyst. It's your excuse to stay involved. Well, I'm running MPG, but of course you're also helping on a sort of a day-to-day basis with the operation of the student branch. And if nothing else, you're just there as a mentor. And I guarantee you'll be developing communication and leadership skills and growing yourself as a mentor. And though this is a little fluffy to say, you will be blown away at how valuable this is and how good it feels. And you can imagine this, but you don't get it until you are actively involved and seeing people reach out to you and communicate, seeing them be inspired, seeing them actually learn as a result of your efforts. It is awesome. Another bold statement. I like lots of making bold statements. I think, and I know this is true again for myself, if you have a job, I would never ever stop planning for the next one. And that doesn't mean that you're unsatisfied with what you're doing, but you should always have a contingency. You should figure out what could happen. And lots of things can happen in your career. So you can get bored. That's my biggest problem. You will get laid off, or you could get laid off. That happens, especially with oil prices at $45. Your job might change. So whether that be a result of your company being purchased, or you're a different focus, maybe you've sort of plateaued as far as the technical advancements that your company wants to make. So in some way, the progress that you planned as you first enter a job, maybe 5 years down the road, it's not really going how you want. You'll probably want to advance your career. And to do that, one of the barriers will be competing against other people who are also trying to advance their career, whether that be internally with your company or externally. And then hopefully what will happen, and I see this happening with a lot of different people, is that eventually we realize what engineering is all about. This goes back to the slide with the cliche iceberg. Engineering really is all about people, and it's about community and growing our profession. That is really what makes being an engineer unique, what makes IEEE unique, and what we can celebrate if we are able to tap into that and recognize that. Now, as far as companies go, we can certainly provide huge value, and this takes some time to figure out. So we have a IEEE member, or sorry, a corporate member of MPG. It's free. Of course, we have sponsorship levels that can come later, but we want to get people exposed and companies exposed to what we're doing and show them the value that we're providing. So MPG literally solves like all of your embedded recruiting problems because you have direct access to these students who are genuinely interested. Plus, you have people on the ground that are working with them day in and day out. So we, in a typical school, depending on how the academic schedules are organized, but in Calgary, for example, MPG level 1 is 8 months, and MPG level 2 is another 8 months. So that's like over 2 years. You're seeing the same people. You're seeing them on their good days, on their bad days. You get them out of their shell. You really see these people for who they are, and you kind of pre-screen them for their personalities, their drive, their innovation, all these different things that you can never get out of reading a resume and doing a couple of interviews. It just doesn't happen like that. So MPG is creating a whole new dynamic to your career in your company, and for everyone that's involved, that's really accelerating your soft skill development and all those things, and fostering that the concept of mentorship and leadership, communication, and hopefully innovation. And because MPG is always this win-win program, promote your products, promote your technology, get real-time feedback. If you're a company that develops widgets of some sort, bring your widgets to MPG and show them off. Do MPG on that. We do provide this whole huge base curriculum, but MPG is not about just using that. It's about finding a way to really personalize it to people that are involved and to the companies that are involved and benefit. So everyone benefits. The students will benefit, the individuals will benefit, and the companies will benefit. As MPG grows, so right now we're across Canada. We don't have any US sites up yet, and we're also looking at some other international opportunities. We'd love to get out there, but it will grow. You might be able to tell that I'm a tad passionate about MPG. I would love to just do MPG. Can't quite do that yet, but that's kind of where I'd like to go. And then that door is always open, so we want companies and people who have invested to be able to leverage what MPG is and how it grows. I know that hundreds of thousands of dollars are spent on recruiting and retention. It costs an immense amount of money to lose an employee. I know that because, again, running my own company now, I see how much I invest in training and how integral my engineers and my other staff are to their positions. And losing those people is extremely costly. Finding them is extremely costly. So what I want to do, and I guarantee that all of our staff, we're involved in MPG programs or in similar programs, and I hope that investment in allowing part of our weekly, your 40 hours a week, part of that time should be with MPG. So we mandate that actually, but it also extends into their own volunteering. It certainly empowers people. It gives them an opportunity to polish their skills as they present and learn those soft skills, but also technical skills. No doubt, to teach something, you must be truly an expert in that. So this concept of getting involved in MPG is a bit of a long-term thinking. How am I really going to maintain my employee satisfaction and not let people get bored and want to leave my company because they see some greener pastures? We want to make our pasture as green as possible, and not just for what appears to be the benefit of the company. We really want people to see that they grow personally outside of what the company is specifically doing, but still tied in. So in that respect, MPG does have this organic growth because it's people driven. It's not monetary. We don't have money involved in MPG. You can't buy this authentic experience. You can't go out and give $1 million and make your people leaders. You can send them to a leadership course, but if they aren't getting out there and practicing that and actually seeing, engaging with students, engaging with other companies, engaging with other professionals, you're just not going to gain that experience. So I have a dream. I want to connect young professionals to IEEE student branches. So I want to figure out how we can even, maybe even formalize this, so it's something that we can really bring into IEEE Young Professionals and say, yeah, we're gonna do this. And again, using MPG as a bit of a catalyst for this. I would love to have teams of young professionals, excuse me, around the world launching MPG at schools. And of course, we have like these step-by-step, we're always trying to improve these step-by-step processes, and well, how do we get MPG going? And we're certainly going to help people to do that. If we get sponsorship, great. Definitely start MPG at $0. But we can also build really cool MPG labs if we sponsorship, and we can run our bursary programs and do our parties and our open houses and things like that. So I don't, this by no means is a presentation about getting money, but I assure you, if you have money, I can help use that. And again, this is not for profit. We're bringing that in. It just enables things to grow faster, but we don't need it. I've done it from the beginning from $0. So let's not focus on that too much. As far as companies go, I mean, if they want to support it, if they want to give it a try, and even individuals, we probably sort of need to commit to 3 years and see what happens. But I mean, even if you give it a try for a year or a term, you'll get a good idea about what's going on. But it always gets easier, and to really see the results process through as far as the company goes. If we start working with second and third year students with MPG, they'll have co-op terms or internships, and the fourth year design project, which can all sort of be tied into MPG. But it's not until 2-3 years later that they're going to start entering industry. So it does take a little while to build up, to fill up that pipeline, and really see the benefits of this program. Individual benefits can happen more quickly, but this 3-year idea is something that I think it's important to highlight, because it's not, like I said, it's a longer-term investment. It's not something that a company is going to be, tomorrow going to see great results from MPG. That's almost it. That's almost all that I want to say. I would encourage you to check out some other articles and things about MPG. So on our news page on Ingenuix.com, we have a lot of articles, and we don't. Ingenuix is just mostly a contract design company, but MPG is a big foundation of that. And that's really how we reach out into the world for what we're doing. So literally all of our news is about MPG or stuff that I've been doing, or Q&As and things like that. So lots of good things there. All of the MPG resources are just at /MPG. Our Facebook page is pretty active. I have to put in the pitch, go likely at the Facebook page, and that just helps us engage with people. It helps us know who's out there. We always celebrate different events that go on with MPG through Facebook, and run contests and all that kind of stuff. And that just helps you tie in and to see some great things. And we encourage people to feed back into that Facebook page to show some of the great things that are going on. If you want to email me, mpg@ingenuix.com. I answer my emails in like no time, all the time. Call us toll free. I don't know if that works outside of North America, but certainly just blasting off an email if you can't get in touch with us on that toll free number. But we really want to speak to you, and even if it's just to learn more and kind of put this all into perspective. It really is hard to capture a program that has grown over 15 years into a half-hour presentation. I tried to write it down once, and it's about a 12-page document that sort of covers everything, all the great things that we're doing, all the potential that we have built in. No one probably wants to read a 12-page document. So it is complex. There's a lot of stuff that has evolved that couldn't have evolved in any other way other than putting in that time. And that's what I want to share with you and allow you to tap into and jumpstart and be able to do this. So everything, of course, is up to you. This doesn't cost you anything. This is not a trick presentation where I say, okay, send me $500 and I'll give you the MPG starter kit. We do have an MPG starter kit. It's only $200, although there is one for $400. But again, that's jump-starting a program, and we don't need to do that. I'm certainly happy. I love giving stuff away. It's not a great business model, but I recognize that it takes something to get going, a bit of show of faith on our side about what's going on. So certainly we can make hardware available. We do have sponsorship. So we have a certain sponsorship pool of funding that we do give demo boards to schools and things like that. It's limited, but we can certainly make it happen to enable people out there to get going. So that is pretty much about it. I hope that has met my goals, that you kind of get what MPG is on the technical side for what we're doing, but also everything else that we see as the potential of connecting industry and students and improving education and sort of opening up and giving these opportunities to individuals. And I hope you're excited. I hope that some of you are right now thinking like, I want to do this, I can do this, even if you're scared, because I assure you, I was very, very scared at the beginning of doing MPG because this is, like I said, I was a horrible presenter, and I've pretty much solved that, which is really, really important. So I think with that, I'll open it up for questions, and of course, like I said, contact me anytime, and I'm happy to give you more information.
Jason, that was an awesome presentation. Thank you for sharing your passion with our IEEE community here, and we've had a lot of viewers sharing the talk. So you know, one of the things that was really on my mind, and Kirk from Canada also asked the same question. It was you know, how do you at the moment have any student groups or IEEE student branches that are executing the MPG program at their local universities? And you know, what's one way that we can get started if somebody wants to run a local program at their own university?
Okay, so right now in Canada we have Calgary going, we have Simon Fraser in Vancouver, and then it looks like, and University of Victoria as well, of course, because I'm here. We're getting Memorial University in Newfoundland going, Concordia, Conestoga in Kitchener, and I think UBC. So those are all schools that we're actively getting MPG going. So you can always tap into those local ones. And then as far as, well, how do I start it at some other school? We probably need to have a conversation. So we need to decide if you currently have contacts into the particular university. If there's an IEEE student branch, that would certainly be our way in. We do also want to approach the department and let them know, you know, what we're doing, and we can do that on our side. That's not something that we would offload to people. So our main goal is to get you connected. So if you're a young professional in industry, even if your company doesn't necessarily want to support this, we will get you connected into your local university and then lead you through how we get going from there.
That's fantastic. And I had a question about, you mentioned there are two levels of MPG. There's level 1 and level 2. Do you have any examples of projects that students or participants work on in each of the levels?
Sure. It would be risky to try and show you one. You can see a ton of them on the Facebook page. So with level 1, what we try to do as an output of you know, for students to do it for level 1 is we do this sort of LED blinking along with a little song that they do through the piezo buzzer. So we sort of leave it up to them. We show them how to build the drivers to do these things, and then we leave it as a final project to, you know, create something as cool as possible with blinking lights and sound and things like that. And we've had some really amazing ones. You know, people take it a step further and they decode MIDI songs to play through their MPG board. We ran at UBC Okanagan for a few years, and that'll probably actually get going as well. Someone built an asteroids game on the ASCII display of MPG level 1. We always run a logo contest for MPG level 2, where students, so once we've introduced the driver for the LCD, then one of the things that people do is create their own logo. So we do a competition with that as well. We have a very long list of new projects that we want to work with. So that's always growing, and we're always adding to the content and to how we're challenging students and making things interesting to them.
That's fantastic. Those are my big questions, and I don't see any other questions coming in. So if you have any further comments to wrap up, let us know right now. We'll take maybe give 20 more seconds. If anybody has any more questions, feel free to type them into the question box under the webinar on the Young Professionals or IEEE TV live page. We'll just give another 10-15 seconds or so if anybody has any other questions they want to ask. We've got Jason here for another couple of minutes.
And I'll just take an opportunity to thank everyone again for participating in the webinar.
Yeah, I thought it was incredibly informative and interesting what something, you know, from how something so small can turn into something so big. And obviously you're now running your company around embedded technologies. So that's it's great to see how this has played such an instrumental role in your life. And hopefully you're sharing. It's great to see you sharing that passion with other students and young professionals.
Thank you.
I think at this time, if we don't have any more questions, I'm going to conclude this webinar. But I do want to thank Jason one more time, and we'll be sending around a feedback survey. So please do complete that and let us know what topics you want to see in the future and what you liked about this presentation in particular. Our next webinar will be probably in late February. We're just trying to figure out a date right now, but Corey Atkinson will present part 6 of his Leadership Excellence series. So definitely tune into that. They've been very inspirational to watch. And I just want to remind you about our 2 career-based services for young professionals. We have the Mentor Center and the Resume Lab, so do check those out online. And again, if you have any suggested topics or if you want to recommend a speaker for a future webinar, please do get in contact with us at young-professionals@IEEE.org, or you'll find our other contact information on IEEE.org/YP. But having said all that, I'd like to thank you for being a fabulous audience, and we hope you have a great day.